There's nothing like the roar of a 16-bit Indy car. This is Super Monaco Grand Prix for the Sega Genesis, a racing game released in 1990. For as old as this game is, it holds up pretty well to this day, offering plenty of speed for the player to handle. Blast processing at its finest, if you ask me. There are two modes the game offers. In the Super Monaco GP mode, you must go through a qualifying round before tackling on the main course. As you can see, it's only a shortened version of it, which gives you a taste for what to expect. Once you've qualified, you face against 19 other drivers, as you are given 3 laps around the track. Every checkpoint strip you pass increases the limit on how far behind you're allowed. Fall back far enough and you lose the game. Speaking of, the crew chief sounds like he would fit the role for one of the army droids in the Star Wars prequels. Once you've completed the first section, you are given the chance to race again, only in wet conditions, making the track harder to grip on the sharp turns. Okay, I'm gonna make the turn, Go! Oh! Well, at least I didn't lose a wheel. The other mode the game offers is the World Championship mode, in which you go through a racing season featuring tracks replicating their real-life counterparts. Each track has you going through a qualifying round, much like the Super Monaco mode. However, you are given 5 laps to race around, and there's no limit to penalize you for falling behind. After qualifying, your crew chief will give you pointers on how to approach certain areas of the track. You will then be asked if you want to choose a rival. This is the only way that you are going to advance if you want a more powerful Indy car than your current one. Once you've selected your rival, you must beat them twice in a row before moving on up the ladder. Depending on how you're racing, beating your rival can be easy, but most of the time it's all up to skill and luck. One thing you must be aware of when racing the World Championship mode is that it takes into account how often you've wrecked into other cars, or how aggressive you've pushed your Indy car to the limit when coming off of a turn. This makes up for penalizing you for falling back in the Super Monaco mode. It also adds in some intensity for gaining back lost ground after coming in for a pit stop. Depending on how long of a stop you take, you might find yourself at the edge of your seat, hoping for a miracle to happen. And in situations like this, that's what you may end up doing. So, he's within reach. I can take him. Alright, come on. Come on. Come on, I can do it. Come on. Yes. I did it. So worth the trouble. Once you've completed a race, you will be prompted to go into the next round, or go see what your password is. Yes, it's one of those lengthy passwords. This is where the game is at its lowest point. With a password this long, you might as well pause this video and write it down. That is assuming you already own this game. You're welcome. And when you come back to playing this game, you'll realize how much of a chore it is to input everything you've written down. During this, the controls were a bit less responsive when going from one letter and number option to the next. And just when you think you have everything down, it is then that you find yourself struggling to know where you messed up along the way. Even more so when it's a string of inputs in a section or row, or just one thing you forgot to enter in, for it could mean having to start the entire season all over. If you happen to be struggling with the courses in the World Championship mode, you can improve your driving by practicing on them. This even gives you an insight on how each track ranges in difficulty. Some of them do seem intimidating in the latter portions. Whoa. Now, for those of you that know your Sega Genesis history, you may recall that Sega released ports based on their popular arcade titles back in the 80s, such as Golden Axe, Afterburner 2, and Alter Beast. Well, it comes to no surprise that this game was also based on an arcade original. Now, if you're like me, being the Sega fan that I am, it was a bit of a shock, but more of a disappointment to find out several years later that this was an arcade game before it was ever a Genesis game. So what you're going to hear are my reenacted impressions of how I felt when I saw what the arcade game looked like, gameplay wise that is. So here it is, Super Monaco Grand Prix for the arcade. Oh wow, the music sounds so much crisper than on a Genesis. Well, let's see how the game looks. Whoa, seriously? This is how it looked in the arcade? Why am I not playing this version? I mean, this is much closer to how I would feel if I were to drive in an Indy car. Oh man, look at those super scalar graphics. And this was 1989! Just seeing this makes me ache to go to the arcades again. Well, at least the crew chief sounds more encouraging than on a Genesis, and much more audible. Now that I think about it, looking at both versions has given me an itch to drive an Indy car. But that's best left to the professionals. Overall, Super Monaco Grand Prix is a decent port of its arcade counterpart. While the Super Monaco mode may be short, the World Championship mode more than makes up for it, with tight driving controls and challenging AI drivers to complement both modes. For racing game fans, it's a worthy recommendation for your Genesis collection.